They think that we're stupid, like we don't know what just happened. Like we really believe that the Supreme Court just reinterpreted the Voting Rights Act based on legal precedent and rule of law. They decided the outcome of that case a long time ago. They decided what they wanted, and then they shaped reality to get that outcome. They set the stage, they placed the props, they gave all the actors their scripts, and the performance went off without a hitch, didn't it? And what we're watching, it didn't start yesterday. It didn't even start with Donald Trump. It goes way back to 1971, a man named Lewis Powell, and a document called the Powell Memo. The Powell Memo was a little love note that Lewis Powell wrote for his buddies in the corporate sector and in the political sphere, saying that democracy had just gone too far in giving power to undesirables, that voters had far too much power, that consumers had far too much power. And let's be honest here, that Black Americans, after generations of being subjugated, finally having political power was a problem that they needed to solve pronto. Because the Voting Rights Act didn't just protect voting rights, it changed who held power in this country. It meant Black communities could elect leaders who actually represented them. It meant policies could no longer ignore them. And it meant that the system had to answer to people that it had spent centuries silencing. And for the people who were used to controlling everything, well, that was just unacceptable. So they made a decision not to compete in a fair market system or to persuade with their political ideas and beliefs, the American system, but to take the power back fully so that neither of those things would ever be necessary again. And they didn't do it overnight. They laid the foundation piece by piece, brick by brick. They went after education so that fewer people would be able to question them. They went after the media so that they could control the narrative. They went after the courts so that they could cement their power as constitutional. And they went after our government, our elected officials, so that policy would serve them and not us. They built pipelines and power structures through groups like the American Legislative Exchange Council, or ALEC, the Heritage Foundation, and the Federalist Society. They trained the lawyers, they picked the judges, and they wrote the laws. And at the same time, they fed people fear. Fear of Black communities, fear of immigrants, and fear of others. Because if you can keep people divided, you can keep them from noticing who's actually taken their power. That's how we got Citizens United, where money drowns out our vote. That's how we got a full takeover of the state housers and got this extreme gerrymandering where they slice up Black and brown communities, wielding their maps like a weapon because they are. And now they've effectively neutered the Voting Rights Act. So when discrimination does happen, which it happens just about every time Republicans decide to redraw their maps, it's harder for us to prove and easier for the courts to ignore. And let's not sugarcoat this. This is going to mean maps drawn to cancel out entire communities. It means decisions made about people without those people having a single real say. That's not democracy. That's disenfranchisement under the cover of constitutionality. And if you think this stops at Black and brown communities, you haven't been paying attention, because once they can ignore some voters, they will be able to ignore all voters. This is not left versus right. It's right versus wrong, and about who holds the power in this country and who gets shut out of it. So what do we do now? We call this exactly what it is: an illegal power grab designed to keep rich white men in power. And we show up. We show up to the primaries, House, Senate, local and state legislative races, every election that they're hoping that you ignore because you think it doesn't matter. It does matter. If it didn't, they would not have spent the last 50 years trying to stop us from doing it. Because believe me when I tell you, they have spent decades setting this up. They have spent decades building this. And the only thing that can stop it at this point are people like you and me who refuse to let it stand any longer. They played the long game, that's for sure. But now it's our move.